This chapter introduces the role of the key individual. Key individuals are appointed by the FSP but approved by the FSB. The management and oversight responsibilities of key individuals stretch over the whole business of the FSB. In this chapter, we unpack the fit and proper requirements applicable to key individuals. The Phase Act defines a key individual as follows. Key individual in relation to an authorized financial service provider or a representative carrying on business as a corporate or unincorporated body, a trust or a partnership, means any natural person responsible for managing or overseeing, either alone or together with other so responsible persons, the activities of the body, trust or partnership relating to the rendering of any financial service, or a corporate body or trust consisting of only one natural person as member, director, shareholder or trustee means any such natural person. A key individual must therefore manage or oversee, alone or with another approved key individual, the activities of the FSB which the key individual is appointed for. Where a single key individual does not meet all the requirements, an FSB may have more than one key individual, and amongst them they will meet the requirements. The activities of the FSB refer to the rendering of an intermediary service and or advice relating to the financial product the FSB is licensed for, the categories and subcategories. It is possible that an FSB can have one natural person in the business, a sole proprietor, and that person can be the key individual as well. In other words, the sole proprietor and the key individual is the same person. The Act refers to the FSB in this instance as the applicant. Key individuals can therefore wear various hats. The key individual has the responsibility of management and oversight of the FSP that performs the activities relating to the rendering of financial services, which includes the provision of advice and intermediary services in respect of such a license. The key individual must have the required experience in management before the registrar will approve the appointment. The experience must include practical management and oversight of the business of the FSP. There may be two types of key individuals approved under one license. One key individual may have the adequate management and oversight experience but lacks the product experience, and the other one may lack the management experience but has adequate product experience. The key individual is responsible, amongst other things, for the representatives as well as the overall business management of the FSP. The FSP applies to the registrar for approval of a key individual. The onus is on the applicant to satisfy the registrar that a key individual meets the fit and proper requirements in respect of honesty and integrity, as well as competence and operational abilities. If the applicant's qualification is not on the recognized qualification list, and the applicant thinks the qualification is indeed relevant and applicable to the role, application for recognition of the qualification must be made prior to submitting the application form. Key individuals and sole proprietors must complete a specific application form, Form FSP4. The following is a summary of what is required in completing the application form. The Phase Act is clear on the various requirements and criteria a person must meet in order to be approved as a key individual. The FSB, being the employer, will identify, appoint the people it wants to act as key individuals, and the FSB, being the regulator, will approve the appointment of key individuals for each FSP. Key individuals must have honesty and integrity, and the operational ability to fulfill its functions in terms of the Phase Act, including the oversight of the financial services provided by the representatives of the FSB. In addition, sole proprietors and FSBs must also meet financial soundness requirements. The key individual is managing or overseeing a large portion of the business of the FSB, and honesty and integrity are crucial in ensuring that the objectives of the Phase Act are met and that the FSB renders a professional financial service to its clients. One way to determine whether a person is honest and has integrity is to provide certain criteria which the key individual must meet. In addition, the Phase Registrar may refer to any information it has or anything that is brought to the attention of the Registrar in relation to the fitness and propriety of a key individual. The honesty and integrity requirement is ongoing. Section 2.4 of Board Notice 106 requires that honesty and integrity be declared in the application for approval of a key individual. Key individuals are required to disclose all information and facts available and applicable to them when applying for approval by the Registrar. The following table summarizes factors that may exclude a person from approval as a key individual. Section 13.2a of the Act requires that the FSB must be at all times satisfied that the key individual meets the requirements of honesty and integrity, and the FSB must ensure that the key individuals responsible for its business remain qualified in terms of these personal attributes to fulfill the function of a key individual. To achieve this, the key individual must declare to the FSB if there is any change in his or her personal situation that affects his or her honesty and integrity, particularly in view of the criteria which may be used to determine exclusions, which we discussed above. If there is a change in the circumstances of the key individual that affects his honesty and integrity adversely, the FSB is responsible to advise the regulator and also tell the regulator what action the FSB has taken, including debarment of the key individual. The competency requirements for a key individual include minimum experience requirements, relevant qualification requirements, completion of relevant regulatory examinations, and ongoing compliance with continuous professional development requirements. The key individual's experience is one of the crucial elements which determines whether he will be approved by the registrar or not. The experience must have been obtained in the management and oversight of people in the business, the rendering of financial services, regarding the specific products or category of financial service, whichever may apply. Getting experience under supervision is only allowed for key individuals who act as representatives and are working under supervision to acquire experience in respect of the product subcategories. Management and oversight experience must already exist when a key individual applies for approval. It can never be obtained under supervision whilst the key individual is fulfilling the duties of a key individual in terms of the Act. There are general experience requirements which key individuals in all the different categories must adhere to, and then there are specific experience requirements for specific product categories. The main difference between the general experience requirements, which apply to all key individuals, and the specific requirements lies in the length of the experience period which is required for approval as a key individual in the different categories. The experience must have been gained in the 5 years prior to the key individual's appointment. The different categories, however, have specific requirements as to how long the experience that was gained in the 5-year period must be. The specific experience requirements in respect of each category are published in the subordinate legislation and shown in a table format. This is the table applicable to Category 1. This is the table applicable to Category 2. General experience requirements apply to all key individuals in all the categories. The key individual must, on the date of approval, have at least 1 year's practical experience. This applies to Category 1, 2, 2A, 3, and 4. in the management or oversight of the activities of a business or part thereof. The experience could have been gained within or outside the borders of South Africa. The experience could have been gained in intermittent periods, not more than 5 years prior to the application, and includes experience gained prior to the implementation of the Act. The dates relating to the experience must be clearly stated. The experience may have been gained in the management and oversight of services similar to or corresponding to the services rendered by the FSP. Let's now look at the specific experience requirements for each category. One of the competency requirements for fitness and propriety beyond 2010 is that the key individual must have an appropriate qualification. The FAIS Registrar publishes a list of recognized qualifications for each category and subcategory. When a key individual is responsible for more than one category or subcategory, he needs to have a qualification that meets the most onerous requirements. There is no need to have a qualification for each category or subcategory. In order to establish which qualifications are recognized as appropriate for key individuals, the qualifications must meet the qualifying criteria, also set by the registrar and published in the subordinate legislation. The qualifying criteria serves two purposes. They are used to evaluate the content of the qualifications and to set the standards for the regulatory examinations. The qualifying criteria describe what a person must know and what a person must be able to do in order to complete a specific task successfully. It is not possible for all qualifications to meet all the qualification criteria, and you may find that some qualifications' contents meet 80% of the specific criteria, and others may meet 100% of the applicable criteria. To differentiate between these qualifications, the regulator introduced a rating system. If a qualification in terms of content meets the qualifying criteria only partially, it is recognized as a generic qualification. If a qualification in terms of content meets the qualifying criteria 80%, it's recognized as a specific Code S qualification. If a qualification in terms of content matches the qualifying criteria 100%, it is recognized as a specific Code SP qualification. The main reason for the differentiation and classification of qualifications is to indicate that a person has to complete a regulatory examination in addition to the qualification. If you have a generic qualification, you have to complete a product-specific regulatory examination. If you have a specific qualification which you obtained at the end of 2009, you will be exempted from the product-specific regulatory examination, provided the qualification was obtained by the end of 2009. If you start with a specific qualification at the beginning of 2010, you will be exempted from the product-specific regulatory examination, only from 2010 onwards. Here is an example of what the qualification list looks like. Here is a qualification and indications whether it is generic or specific for the various subcategories under Category 1. To meet the fit and proper requirements in terms of competence, all key individuals and representatives have to have completed the REs, except where there is provision for exemption. The registrar introduced the regulatory examinations level 1 because there is a severe lack of understanding and application of the key principles of the FAIS Act in the financial services industry. The focus of RE is to test the application of factual knowledge of representatives and key individuals with regard to the rendering of financial services applicable to specific categories or subcategories to clients, and understanding and application of the relevant legal provisions pertaining to providers and clients. Continuous professional development is part of the fit and proper requirements that are effective from the 1st of January 2010 onwards. However, the 3-year CPD cycle will only start on completion of the highest level, first or second RE, but no later than on completion of a 6-year period from date of authorization, appointment or approval. The aim of CPD is to ensure that the relevant role players in phase, such as key individuals, representatives and compliance officers, are enabled to do the following: develop and maintain professional competence in order to provide financial services of a high quality in the public interest that will support the professionalization of the financial services industry. To understand the primary responsibility of competence vests in the individual, and that they have an obligation to develop and maintain their professional competence. 2. Render financial services with due care, competence and diligence, with an ongoing duty to maintain knowledge and skill at a level required to ensure that the client receives competent professional service based on up-to-date developments in legislation and the financial services industry. The Registrar will consider various CPD programs and will maintain a CPD list. Institutions, employers and the like may apply to the Registrar for recognition of their applicable programs or activities. The amount of time spent by the role players on updating skills and knowledge through participation in CPD programs reflect the CPD hours which are prescribed for each function in the subordinate legislation. These hours must be achieved during a 3-year cycle. This chapter dealt with the fit and proper requirements for key individuals. FSPs appoint key individuals, and the FSP approves the key individual to operate for a specific FSP in certain product categories and subcategories. There is a list of exclusions with regard to honesty and integrity that will disqualify a key individual from approval by the Registrar.